Live from Studio 67 in Florida's Capital County. It's time to be FACish.
Access granted.
Good people, welcome to the end of week 4. Seems like week 40. Seems like we've been doing this for a full year. This week was intense. But let's go ahead and get right into it. I think there's a lot to report on. So let's start with the roll call. And the question of the day, as submitted by Jeff. I need to know, the people need to know, what is your favorite sports team? So Jeff, let's go for it. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Davin. Jeff Scala, handle in energy, environment, water, technology, and rural issues. This is a tough one. It might not be the champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Tampa Bay Lightning, but my favorite team is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Look at that. He's got paraphernalia, like the little bell. That's pretty good. Eddie, how you doing?
How you doing, Davin? Eddie Labrador, Senior Legislative Counsel. Good afternoon, everybody. And my favorite sports team is the New York Yankees.
Yes. Yeah, I expected that. Sarah Henley, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you. Sarah Henley, policy analyst. And as a Gator, I'm a lover of all Gator sports, but I'm also a huge hockey fan. So go Bolts, Tampa Bay Lightning, Stanley Cup Championship.
All right. All right, we're going to make Bob wait. Tonette, how you doing?
Greetings and good afternoon, good folk. It's Tonette Graham, your favorite COVID girl, all things health, safety, and justice. And my favorite sports team is none other than the FAMU Rattlers.
All right, I can do with that. FAMU class of 97. We're not going to ask, like, when did you graduate, Tonette? So, Bob, bringing up the rear. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Bob McKee, Deputy Director of Public Policy, handling all things with a dollar sign. My favorite sports team, since I was a little kid, way before they were on TBS, is the Atlanta Braves. And I have to say, they have won one World Series in my lifetime, and I was there in the stadium, Game 6, 1995. I have pictures to prove it.
Yeah, I thought those tickets were scalped, weren't they?
No, they were not. I was on the phone for 2 hours. But people forget it was a strike season. So there are a bunch of people that cancel their season tickets.
All right. Sarah, have you ever purchased anything over the phone?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. All right, folks, I'm Davin Suggs, and people think my favorite team is the Green Bay Packers, professional sports team. I'm from Wisconsin. But currently, because I'm a softball dad, my favorite team is any softball team that Dylan is playing on. So, and shout out, they had a good week and they beat Lincoln High School last night. So, awesome. All right.
Go Pickle!
That's right, Pickle. Dill Pickle. That's my daughter's name. So, number 19, in your hearts and on your mind. All right, let's get right into it. Like I said, there was a lot that happened this week. So, the segment where we run it on down. Let me see who I want to start with. Let's go back to the top. And Jeff, I just want to let you know something here.
It's about to go down.
Well, it was a busy week for environmental bills this week. First, the PFAS bill got its first committee hearing after getting a large rewrite in a strike-all amendment. That's Senate Bill 1054 by Senator Broxson. That one cleared its first committee stop and was amended to require DEP to adopt statewide rules for cleanup targets for PFAS. And it creates liability limitations until DEP ratifies those rules. It also directs OPAGA to study PFAS programs in other states to give more guidance to the legislature. Other bills, House Bill 919, the energy utilities preemption, cleared its second hurdle in the House. That is a preemption of the utility services. It preempts counties from banning types of fuel like natural gas. Over in tech, we have the Broadband Industry Incentives Bill was heard, House Bill 1239. Last week, the REC estimated the recurring impact at $92.4 million on a recurring basis. This bill does not include any direct tie to delivering broadband to underserved or unserved areas, and really just serves as a handout to the telecoms. And more on the environment and water later on Resilient Florida.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. That's pretty good. Your timing is pretty good. You're right in mid-season stride here. You should serve as a glowing example to everybody else. And we're going to test that right now. Hey, Eddie. You know what time it is, Eddie?
Oh, yeah.
It's about to go down.
Okay. Well, this week was also a very involved week for community and urban affairs issues, elections, and ethics, and even transportation. But let me just mention a few bills that people should be aware of. First of all, property rights legislation is continuing to move in the Senate. On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee approved favorably Senate Bill 1876 by Senator Albritton. That bill modifies certain sections of the Burt Harris Private Property Rights Protection Act, and it even includes some portions of some provisions from Senate Bill 1380 by Senator Rodriguez. The bill was approved 7-4 as a committee substitute and is now headed to Community Affairs on Tuesday, March 30th. We also saw the Senate Growth Management Bill by Senator Perry. This is committee substitute for Senate Bill 496. It is the companion to House Bill 59 by Representative McLean. That was also heard in its final committee, the Senate Rules Committee, and approved on it was approved, and now it heads to the Senate floor. Now, House Bill 59 is on the special order calendar for March 31st, which is next Wednesday. Next bill that I want to point out has to do with the port preemption bill. This is the bill that Senator Boyd has. It's committee substitute for Senate Bill 426. That bill was heard in the Community Affairs Committee. It was amended to add, to actually separate out and clarify certain provisions within the bill. It still has the, you can't have an initiative or referendum that impacts or seeks to regulate commerce entering the seaports of the state. And it also prohibits municipal governments from enacting any kind of regulations that affect commerce in our ports. It was, like I said, it was amended to make some clarifications in those provisions, and it was approved on a 5-3 vote, and it now heads to its final committee, the Senate Rules. The last bill that I want to mention is the construction permitting bill. This is committee substitute for House Bill 1059 by Representative Robinson. This bill was approved 21-0 as a committee substitute. It does various things, including requiring posting of construction permit applications and including any attachments like drawings, payments, and so forth. It requires posting of those of applications. It requires posting of statuses regarding applications that have been submitted to local enforcement agencies, and it actually provides for penalties if permits for single family residences are not issued within the prescribed time limits that are in current law. And that bill, again, was approved, and it is now scheduled on the special order calendar for March 31st, next Wednesday. That's it for me.
Hey, all right, Eddie. Thank you. You know, Eddie, I give you a pass because you're like the Godfather in the Yankees. So you can talk as much as you want. All right. All right, Tonette. Just let me give you a hint here. It's about to go down.
All right. Busy week for COVID. This week, COVID-19 fraud safeguard bill is ready for the Senate floor. This is the committee substitute HB 9, protecting consumers against pandemic-related fraud by Representative Zika. It is already passed in the House, but it was up in rules on yesterday, and after much debate, Senator Bean, who is the sponsor of the Senate companion, decided to take up the House version, and it is slated to hit the Senate floor next week. Another COVID bill that is up, Senate Bill 72, which is the civil liability for damages related to COVID by Senator Brandis, passed on the House floor on Friday. Well, it's up right now, but the way the votes are aligning and happening in committee, it should pass later this afternoon. Remember, this is a combination of the former Senate Bill 74 and 72, providing protections extended to all persons, businesses, and entities, including healthcare providers who acted in good faith during this pandemic. And last but not least, HB 1, the anti-rioting bill. The representatives in the House are currently debating this bill. They have been in debate for probably the last 2 hours now, but it is likely to pass the way the conversations are going, and the vote should align. It'll be a party line vote, but it will probably pass. Remember, this is a bill that defines crimes related to rioting and enhancing penalties for aggravated rioting that include but aren't limited to the acts of assault, battery, mob intimidation, destroying a memorial or historic property, and cyber intimidation. The Senate companion, Senate Bill 484, has yet to be heard, and it's not an appetite for this on the Senate side right now. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out after this afternoon. That's it for me.
Hey, thank you, Tonette. No, a lot of this stuff, you bring up a good point. We're in that part of the session where it's about to get real, and we're going to see, everybody's kumbaya in the beginning. But now, everybody's got a good idea. We'll see how that's being evaluated. All right. Bob, the Braves. Who's your favorite Brave ever?
That's a tough one, but I got to go with Phil Niekro. He passed last December. He threw that knuckleball. He won 300 plus games. He not only would win 20 games in a season, he'd lose 20 games in a season. And a lot of people point to Steve Carlton as having the greatest season ever when he won 27 games for a Philly team that only won 56. But for, I think, a 4-year period of time, Phil Niekro won 25% of the games that the Braves won.
So he was a winner and a loser.
He would pitch. He pitched 300 innings a season at least. He multiple times
he
led
would
the
win
league.
20 and lose 20. Does that resemble your lobbying style? Like, will you win on 20 bills and lose on 20 bills?
It was all a factor of the team that he had behind him.
No. So you're saying that if you lose, it's because
with a good team, you don't win as much. You don't lose as much.
Okay. Hey, Bob, just it's about to go down.
All right. Finance and tax this week. Other than the one big thing I'll talk about later, the big bill that was up was Senate Bill 750 on impact fees. It was up in Senate Community Affairs. The committee adopted a strike-all amendment that matched the bill up with the House language. The bill is still problematic in that it still has caps in it, even though there's a bypass around the caps. It has language that restricts back what can be purchased with impact fees, and it's got some broad open credit language that appears to say any public facility that's donated by the developer, we have to provide an impact fee credit for, even if it's not a like impact fee to the infrastructure provided. We did receive commitments from the sponsor, Senator Gruters, both in private and in public, that he would work on the definitions and he would work on the credit language. And we got that same commitment from the home builders. The bill did pass 5-3, and the chair, Senator Jennifer Bradley, did vote against the bill. The other bill I want to outline for you in this section is House Bill 1429, dealing with tourist and convention development taxes. The bill was up in the House Ways and Means Committee. It was significantly amended to take out what was previous in the bill, a requirement that all TDTs would sunset and have to be reauthorized every 5 years with a referendum. It did leave the referendum requirement in the bill for any new or reauthorized tourist development pennies. For most counties, there's not an expiration date in their current tourist development tax levies. But if you do, it would require a referendum to go back. And then there's still some language that appears to require a referendum if the third penny is bonded. So it seems to require a referendum for bonding the third penny, which still may affect some people in today's situation. We pointed that out in the committee, and but the bill did pass out of the committee and is scheduled to be heard next week.
All right, and you're going to win on these bills based on the quality of your team. So we will duly noted. We will all get to work for Bob.
With
Bob. All right, we're going to jump right into the one big thing, because you know why? The people have been waiting all week to hear from Sarah. Because, you know, this is Sarah. She always kicks this off. So, Sarah, it's time to hear your one big thing.
This is my time to shine. So very important topic up this week. If you came to Legible last week, it was a homework assignment by Davin. We had a couple of bills up this year placing restrictions on counties from extending emergency orders, and even the governor and legislature having the power to invalidate said orders. This is very important issue for local governments that has the potential to have some major consequences in the future when dealing with emergencies specific to your community, whether they be pandemics, hurricanes, oil spills, civil unrest, etc. So when the pandemic first began in March and we knew very little about COVID-19, local governments were on the front lines. They were the ones who stepped up in creating guidelines in their areas to keep their residents safe. And some of those things included mask mandates, travel restrictions, remote meetings, social distancing guidelines, curfews. And to put this in a little more perspective, by March 20th of last year, all counties had local state of emergencies in effect. Today, not all counties have those still in effect, and that's okay. But a specific example is Miami-Dade County. Over a year later, has extended its emergency order 55 times, so every 5 days. And Miami-Dade has made that decision to keep those orders in place as it's necessary to keep their residents in place. They have curfews going on right now because a large amount of people are coming down for spring break. So FAC is working closely on these bills, and Tonette is next going to go in depth on the legislation that we're watching this year.
All right, Sarah. And today you guys can't see this, but they're the blue light sisters. Both of them have on their blue lights and they're ready to go. So I'm just going to hit the button so people can hear Tonette's one big thing.
I mean, girls run the world. We have to stick together. Thank you, Sarah, for laying the foundation. My one big thing is none other than Senate Bill 1924, the limitations on emergency powers of political subdivisions. This bill is sponsored by Miami-Dade Senator Manny Diaz, and it was heard in its first committee the Senate Community Affairs. This bill requires emergency measures issued by a political subdivision be narrowly tailored, compelling public safety or public health emergencies, and it specifies a lot of other requirements for local emergency measures. Just got a notification from Lobby Tools that it will be up in its next committee of reference next week on Tuesday in the Military and Veteran Affairs Committee at 12:30. So members, we've got another homework assignment for you. We need to just soften this bill up a little bit. There's work to be done. We have the opportunity to meet with the sponsor this week, but we still need your assistance. So please check out our legible, reach out to the sponsor, Senator Diaz, call your respective senators, and help us soften and tone this bill down before it gets to the Senate floor. Thank you.
All right, Tonette, and this is very important. I see Eddie has his pen in his hand, and I know he's getting ready to do his one big thing, which maybe this week will just be one thing. But Eddie, Master Amendment Drafter, is going to be helping Tonette and the crew go soften this bill up. So with that, Eddie, I'm just going to bring you up right now because you talked about a lot of stuff already. But again, Yankees Godfather, you can talk as much as you want. So Eddie, the people want to hear your one big thing.
Okay, well, thanks, Davin. And I just want to go back and talk a little bit more about the construction permitting bill that I mentioned previously. This is, like I said before, committee substitute for House Bill 1059 by Representative Robinson. Basically, the bill starts off by, under current law, you have, when you're reviewing an application for a building permit, you can request additional information up to 3 times. Current law does not set a time frame for those unless they're set locally. But this bill would set a time frame for getting that information and reviewing that information to ensure that the applications are complete and taking actions within the prescribed timeframes. If it's the first request for additional information, then you have 30 days after you receive it to act upon it and issue the permit. If you review the information and it's still not complete, then you have to make the request for the information within 10 days. And upon receipt of the information, you have 10 days in which to review it, determine whether the application is now complete or if there are still deficiencies, and then send out your third request. If you make a third request, then the application, once you receive that information, the application must be deemed complete, and you must proceed to either approve or deny the permit based on the information that you have, or you can work things out with the applicant and extend that time frame. The bill clarifies that local enforcement agencies are required to post each type of building permit application on their website, including a list of all required attachments, drawings, and other requirements that are required for each type of application. The agencies must post the status of any building permit applications that are received online and update the status of the applications unless the permit has already been issued. You are required to allow building permit applicants to submit their applications electronically, including any attachments or drawings that are required to go with the application. And you must post your procedures for processing, reviewing, and approving submitted building permit applications on the websites. The bill requires that local governments reduce permit fees, and this is the big to-do as part of this bill. When building permit applications for single-family and residential dwellings are not approved within the prescribed time frame, and you must reduce those fees by 10% of the original permit fee amount for each business day that the local government fails to meet the current statutory time period for reviewing and issuing the permit. Now, the 10% reduction does not apply if the local government and the applicant agree to an extension of time, or if the government, within the 30-day time period, provides notice to the applicant of deficiencies and specifically states why the application fails to satisfy the building code or the government's local ordinances, and the applicant is also apprised that it has 10 business days after receiving the notice to remedy the deficiencies and return a revised application. If the applicant submits the application information within the 10 business days, then the government entity must approve or deny the permit within 10 business days. If they do not meet the 10-day deadline, then they have to approve, they have to reduce their permit fees by 20% of the original amount of the fee, and an additional 10% for each business day that the government fails to meet the deadline for approving the permit. So it is a very steep penalty, and one that people need to be aware of. Now, this bill is now on the special order calendar for next Wednesday, and the Senate companion that Representative Boyd has is awaiting its next hearing in the Senate Governmental Oversight and Accountability Committee. It's been there for a couple weeks, but the House bill is moving, so I would expect the Senate bill to also move.
All right.
That's
yeah. Now that one is steep. I think we're going to have to send Bob over there, talk about the 10% penalties, because Bob's a winner as long as we're winning too, right? Bob, it's time for your one big thing.
Speaking of winning, CS for Senate Bill 50 passed the Senate floor. That's the online sales tax, the e-fairness bill. The bill came out of the Senate 30-10. It does expand include the marketplace provisions that will now apply to our local option sales taxes. It's a significant amount of additional revenue that will now be collected because of the lack of ability to collect it direct from the citizens in an effective way. So that bill passed the Senate again, and the House is scheduled to take it up in Commerce Committee next week. We understand this to be the deal. The money is going to, the state money is going to offset the current low level of the Unemployment Compensation Trust Fund to reduce unemployment or reemployment tax on employers. But that is done after our local government distributions in 2/12/20. And so there's no impact to local governments from that money being used to reduce the business's liability with respect to the reemployment tax.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Pretty good. Money coming in the way. Maybe that'll help pay for some of these fines, because Eddie and his people can't approve permits. So.
Actually will not happen. Those are all restricted uses. Only perhaps the small counties with the small county surtax could use them for that purpose. All other counties would have to use them as authorized under the current existing local option sales taxes.
Bob, are you going to snitch on the counties? Are you going to snitch? I mean, if you don't tell, I won't tell. All right? I'm just kidding.
We won't need to.
Right. All right. I got a feeling I know what Jeff is going to talk about. Major action going down with dock stamps and a lot of money, affordable housing, water, and the stopping or addressing sea level rise. So, Jeff, the people want to hear your one big thing.
Big thing it is. It's House Bill 5401, documentary stamp tax distributions, which was introduced this week as a proposed committee bill, ANR 2101, by Chair Josie Tomko in the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Appropriations Subcommittee. It was the start of budget week and the subcommittees this week. And this bill revises the distributions of the documentary stamp tax that are deposited into the local government housing trust fund and state housing trust fund by 2/3. It reduces those distributions. What this bill is setting up is, instead of directing all of those funds to the documentary stamp taxes, is splitting it into 3 separate silos. So we have the state housing, affordable housing trust funds mentioned already, and then we have the water protection and sustainability trust fund as the second group, which is those stormwater projects like septic to sewer, and the third being the Resilient Florida Trust Fund. We've previously talked about the Resilient Florida program, which is trying to fund local government and county grants to fund resiliency planning and allowing the state to prepare for the effects of climate change by a comprehensive statewide flood vulnerability study. But this bill is separating 3 major priorities of counties: stormwater grants, resiliency planning grants, and affordable housing. The funding for each of those silos is projected to be $141 million. So this issue for House Bill 5401 kind of brings in each of our issue areas here, probably brings the entire FAC team on board to address this bill. During the committee, Chair Tomko heard a lot of pushback from the realtors and the housing coalition on the bill, with a lot of questions coming from the committee members on whether or not the funds could be swept. Part of the bill says that funds may not be transferred to general revenue, but of course, future legislatures cannot be bound. So there's a lot of questions here if a sweep could occur in the future. Bob, do you want to add in?
Yeah, what I'd suggest is instead of using the word sweep when we talk about those funds, using the term redirect, because sweep is very one specific way that they do it, where they have authorization to sweep certain trust funds in the General Appropriation Act. The language would preclude that from happening, but that is not the only way they can get at the money. So if they use the word sweep they may not be able to do, but they can still put language in the implementing bill. They can still change the law. They can still redirect the use of the money. So I would suggest just when people talk about this, talk about the broader term redirect rather than sweep.
And the bill, House Bill 5401, passed along party lines and still needs to go through the budget process. The House did include those funds in their proposal, their subcommittee proposal. So we'll be monitoring that to see where this issue is going.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And just for our members out there, so they know that FAC as an organization, we're going to sort of sit back and analyze and watch because, as Jeff said, all 3 of these issues are our priorities. And it depends on what county you're in. We understand that because we preach one size does not fit all. And so we're going to sit back and take comment from all of our members, and they are free to act freely, but we understand as an association that all 3 of these things are important. And so I think we're going to watch, analyze, and sort of be a little bit slower to act, and let's see what comes to fruition here. All right. guys, good stuff. As you see, we're getting more serious, and the major stuff is moving. You know, our job gets harder here on out, but we enjoy doing it. As we head out, I got to tell a little story, a little commentary. I'm not going to comment on legislation, but you guys know, and for the people out there, during session, I have to have my snacks because I'm sitting at my laptop, my computer, watching multiple TVs, and everybody knows I like gummy bears. So I have this big, gigantic bag of gummy bears. I sit next to my laptop on my desk. And, you know, it's COVID times, you know. I want to let you guys know what happened yesterday. I'm eating my gummy bears. I'm sitting there. I'm talking about bills. I'm sitting with staff. And one staff member in particular who thinks he's a winner because he follows the Braves and stuff. He proceeds, in the era of COVID, in the middle of a pandemic, to stick his bare hand in my bag of gummy bears. Man. But I'm so proud of myself because I did not immediately reach over and choke him out because you can't do that in the workplace. But now I have a contaminated bag of gummy bears that are going to waste. It's very disappointing. I don't know how I'm going to be able to focus next week. So, with that, since he believes in team, other team members, when you had a chance to talk to the unnamed staff person, you should counsel him, okay? So with that, let's go around and then let's get our last word impressions of the week. Jeff, what are your thoughts for this week overall?
Well, it was sports week, so I think this week was madness.
Yes, that's good. That's pretty good. Sarah Henley, Blue Light number 1. It's your new nickname.
Tensions are high, kind of rebellious week.
Yeah, I think it's going to get even better or worse depending how you look at it. Eddie Labrador.
Movement. Lots of things moving.
Yeah. So, and it's our job to either try to help them move or try to put up an obstacle. All right. Tonette Graham. Any words? You're disappointed in that other team member that stuck his hand. I think you were a witness.
Listen, well, whoever ordered the snacks should have ordered individually wrapped COVID snacks, okay? I'm just saying. That's all. Anyways, my word or theme for this week will have to be refinement.
Okay, good word. Last but not least, and he's not last because he was the person that violated the gummy bears. It just worked out that way. Bob McKee, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I felt differently till a minute ago, but now the week was unbearable.
I see what you did there. Still does not excuse the fact that gummy bears are contaminated. So
it will be remedied. I was not aware of this gummy bear situation.
Okay. Folks out there, just week 4, you heard it. Man, it was tough. And you heard the words intense, movement, tension, rebellious. It's all happening. And if you've been through session before, the pace we're at, we're probably about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of pace. Some of the stuff we saw this week usually happens in week 6 or 7, but we're here now. Next week, we anticipate budget out for real. We'll know who winners and losers are, and that tension and attitudes will definitely shift again. But we'll be right here recapping week 5 next week and doing what we do for our folks. And always, please remember, it is not the critic who counts, not the person who points out how the strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. And that's you guys out there, our commissioners and staff, and that's why we go to work every day for you here. And so until next week, we will talk to you later.